It's Tuesday, April 21st, and this is now on H&N.
This is a long-term challenge.
Governor David Ige says Hawaii isn't ready to begin reopening the economy.
It just isn't time for them yet. There's still too many unknowns.
I'm Michael George with which states are starting to reopen as others continue to stay locked down.
Congress reaches a deal on additional funding for coronavirus testing, hospitals, and small business relief. I'm Natalie Brand with the message of one small business owner left in limbo.
I've made a lot of decisions in reliance on that loan coming in.
Back here at home, beach restrictions prompt pushback from residents and confusion for mayors.
And our goal is to have clarification on that rule.
These stories plus practicing social distancing while looking for love.
It's possible.
Coming up on This Is Now. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jonathan, your director-producer here at This Is Now, alongside Ashley. We begin with breaking news today. The state's death toll has risen.
The state health department is reporting 2 new deaths related to COVID-19. Officials say one of the patients is an older man on Oahu who had underlying health conditions and was hospitalized in late March. They say he was discharged after his condition improved, but died at his home yesterday. The other patient is a man on Maui who also had underlying health conditions. Family has identified him as 89-year-old Fortunato Genobia. He was hospitalized at the Maui Memorial Medical Center late last year, and authorities say his case is linked to the large cluster at the hospital, which as of yesterday had 36 staff and 20 patients under investigation as potentially associated with the cluster. So Hawaii's death toll now stands at 12. DOH is also reporting just 2 new coronavirus cases today, bringing the statewide total to 586. Both of these cases are on Maui, and officials say so far 437 people have been released from isolation.
All right, we want to talk about the national numbers. Right now, more than 800,000 cases have been confirmed in the U.S., more than 43,000 deaths across the nation. Even as the cases continue to rise, some areas are reopening. We've seen protests and all sorts of images of that throughout the last couple of days. Michael George is in New York. He filed this report.
We need to stop the spread of this virus.
Nurses protested outside the White House, demanding more personal protective equipment as they battle coronavirus.
Nurses are getting sick and nurses are dying.
While they protested for gear, demonstrators in North Carolina rallied against the state's stay-at-home order. Some parts of the country are starting to reopen. In South Carolina, some retail shops are allowed to open if social distancing is observed.
I want people to be careful about what they do and their decisions, especially when they come in my shop. I want people to, keep their distance.
And in Georgia, nail salons and other businesses can open Friday. But in New York City, even though hospitalizations are on the decline, there are no plans to ease restrictions.
The city's mayor has now canceled all public events through June, including the Pride March and the Puerto Rican Day Parade, both typically attended by millions of people.
It just isn't time for them yet. There's still too many unknowns.
At Mount Sinai Hospital in New York, Chaplain Rocky Walker says the stress is taking its toll.
I'm observing what I think is a second wave of this virus, and that is a wave of depression, exhaustion, and weariness on the part of the healthcare workers themselves.
New York City's mayor promises a ticker tape parade for healthcare workers will be the city's first large-scale event when the city is ready. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
And back here at home, despite a decline in new cases, Governor Ige says he is not ready yet to ease the stay-at-home restrictions.
We will have to live with COVID-19 in our community for a long time. And so we may look at relaxing restrictions. And if we see a spike in the cases, then we would look at reenacting some of those restrictions. And so I do think that people need to recognize that this is a long-term challenge.
National models predicted that Hawaii could start to reopen in just 2 weeks, but Governor Ige says when it does happen, it will happen slowly and in phases. The governor said it would only be certain sectors and services allowed to reopen first, things like elective surgeries and procedures. The state still does not meet CDC guidelines for reopening the economy, which includes a 14-day downward trend of new cases.
We have some breaking news here coming into the Digital Center. The Senate has just approved a measure to give billions of dollars to businesses and hospitals after a week of negotiations. We got Natalie Brand. She's at the White House. She just filed this report.
The bill as amended is passed.
The Senate has passed a nearly $500 billion deal that will give additional funding for hospitals, coronavirus testing, and small business relief programs.
The Senate is continuing to stand by the American people.
The hard work of bipartisan negotiation paid off.
Lawmakers estimate the Paycheck Protection Program has a backlog of hundreds of thousands of applications.
I've made a lot of decisions in reliance on that loan coming in. Right?
Doug Nevin, owner of a small New York law firm, was approved by his bank, then learned the money had run out.
It's unfortunately just creating a lot of uncertainty for employers at a time when employers are trying to maintain their businesses and maintain their payroll.
Monday night, the president tweeted he would take executive action to temporarily halt immigration, but didn't offer details. The State Department has already been restricting visas since last month due to the coronavirus.
I think that countries around the world have more or less controlled their borders to preserve, the health of their citizens.
Vice President Mike Pence traveled to Wisconsin to tour a GE facility building ventilators.
We've confronted the coronavirus epidemic across this country as one nation.
GE is one of several U.S. companies expected to produce tens of thousands of ventilators by the end of the summer after the president invoked the Defense Production Act. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
All right, we want to take you to Wall Street. Let's take a look at the numbers. Stocks are falling there yet again. The collapse in the oil prices is deepening as the economic carnage caused by this coronavirus pandemic turns the markets upside down. The Dow there down 600 points, that's 2.6%. The Nasdaq down 297 points, that's 3% of that market share. And the S&P 500 down 86 points, that's another 3%. Oil prices continued their collapse, as I just mentioned, as the demand withers away as widespread stay-at-home orders continue, and the storage tanks that literally hold all this crude oil is getting filled up, and there's nowhere to put it, so that's sending the market into a tailspin. So we'll keep following that for you here at This Is Now.
An interesting development amid the pandemic. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is in grave danger following surgery. That's according to South Korean media. While CBS is working to confirm this finding, U.S. intelligence is closely monitoring the situation in North Korea. Now, Ian Lee tells us why experts are worried about the unknown.
The last time Kim Jong-un was seen in public was at this April 11th meeting, a day before he reportedly underwent heart surgery. Questions rose about his health days later after he missed, for the first time, a birthday event honoring his late grandfather, North Korea's founder. The North Korean leader is known for being morbidly obese, a heavy smoker and drinker with underlying health conditions. Both his father and grandfather died of heart disease. In the event of his passing, a likely successor, possibly his younger sister, would need to secure a power base before taking the reins of the country, says North Korean expert Robert Carlin.
You'll have fairly inexperienced North Koreans at the top. A lot of them don't know a lot about the outside world. There are going to be factions trying to scramble to the top.
The biggest concern is who controls North Korea's estimated 30 to 40 nuclear weapons.
People will breathe a big sigh of relief if they discover Kim showing up in a few days.
If Kim does die, North Korea is so secretive, it could be days or even weeks before anyone knows. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
Interesting developments there. Another thing we'll stay on top of for you here at This Is Now. I wanted to take a look at the global cases now. This is coming from Johns Hopkins University. The total number of confirmed cases worldwide now stands at 2.5 5 million cases, a little more than that actually, and the total deaths is more than 175,000 cases. Several global developments to talk about. Spain has called off the running of the bulls that was scheduled for July. The U.S. has scrapped the National Spelling Bee that was set for June, and Germany canceled Oktoberfest already. And even the UN is now calling for more testing, more medical supplies, drugs, and future vaccines. There's a big call out for that from the UN this morning, and African officials are now saying they are in need of supplies across the countries there of 59 nations in that continent. So many global developments to keep track of. We're doing our best here, and we'll continue to do so.
And back here at home, Governor Ige's new rule making beaches off limits is getting some pushback. People are frustrated and confused, including at least 2 of Hawaii's mayors. Stephanie Lum reports.
Some say the new rules are too restrictive. Others say they're confused about exactly where they can and can't walk along the shoreline. Right now, the Ige administration says the order lets counties use discretion to allow certain activities. But Maui's mayor says the language makes it difficult to determine whether the beaches are legally within his jurisdiction. After announcing a new proclamation which includes no sitting, loitering, running, or walking on the beach, today Governor Ige says the majority of people seem to be abiding by the new rules at state beaches. But Kauai's mayor has questions.
We know that it is a top priority for our community, and our goal is to have clarification on that rule.
As does Maui County's mayor.
I think the governor must clearly define use of the beaches, which are owned by the state, should be allowed. It's still very unclear because they're saying they own all the beaches, but where is the beach line? Vegetation and high water mark. That changes day to day in many of our beaches.
Mayor Victorino says even officers are confused and it's been tough to enforce.
Our police are really not out to cite people right now until there's clarification.
Meantime, with no one on the beach, sidewalks have become crowded. Seniors such as Diana Helfin of Kailua say that puts them in a dangerous situation.
Sidewalks are now very, very busy with people biking, walking, jogging. I saw an older woman almost got knocked down by someone that was zooming through on a bike on Kalaheo Avenue. And if someone older falls, they're going to fall on a hard pavement and really get hurt. The beach is soft. If you are walking and you do fall for any reason, you're not falling on a hard surface.
The retired columnist says the new rules are discriminatory against kupuna.
And my doctor actually told me to breathe in the salt air because I had some respiratory problems. So I can't even do that.
Governor Ige says a solution is in the works.
The order that I issued refers to state beaches, and the county mayors have issued orders that deal with their county beaches. And, we are working to align it.
As the mayors of Kauai and Maui County await more clarification, Mayor Victorino says he's also pushing for the reopening of Maui County beaches and parks, as well as state beaches. Stephanie Lum, Hawaii News Now.
Hawaiian Airlines says it's getting more than $650 million in federal aid to keep operating. CEO Peter Ingram told a state legislative committee the feds have approved $290 million in grants and loans to cover its payroll and a low-interest loan of $364 million for operations. Regulators will not require Hawaiian to add more flights to the mainland. Ingram said the money will keep Hawaiian flying for the short term as the airline burns through $4 million a day in operating costs. Besides 17 daily inter-island flights, the carrier will maintain 2 daily round trips to California, which are mostly bringing cargo to Hawaii.
All right, time now for my favorite part of the show, what's become that. It's called Checking In. It's a segment where we just check in with different members of our community. Today, we're talking about the state capitol. It's been shut down for more than a month after one of the senators there tested positive for COVID-19. Today, we're checking in with a lawmaker who's going to explain how they're keeping government going, even despite actually having that physical building there and amid all this pandemic crisis. We're checking in with Chris Lee here.
Okay, today we are checking in with State Representative Chris Lee. He represents Kailua and Waimanalo. He is also the chair of the House Judiciary Committee. Hey, Chris.
How you doing?
Good. So with, the Capitol closed, with social distancing, how has that affected you guys?
Well, this is pretty unprecedented. I mean, we did have to vacate the Capitol when everything started blowing up. So session has been suspended, and it's the first time in the state's history that that's ever happened. So we really aren't 100% sure what the path is going to look like, but we know we can't reconvene session just to pass bills and put people at risk. So there have been discussions in the meantime about as things unfold, if we can get a handle on the situation, maybe there will be time later on, in months' time, to reconvene the legislature to pass some of the bills that we've been working on with the community, or at least do some emergency appropriations to deal with this sort of situation. But we know right now, at least in the immediate future, that the governor has enough money in the budget to be able to handle things. And while we don't always know exactly what that's going to look like, we're standing by waiting to see what's next.
Are there any, bills or, priorities that you guys had ready to go that needed to be passed, this session that's kind of like in limbo?
Well, I mean, everybody, I think, argues that their bills are ready to go and super important to the state. And there are, thousands of them out there. But there were definitely a few that stood out. Things like the budget, for example, making sure that our agencies are well-staffed, well-funded, and can respond to situations and emergencies just like this. Looking at what we do with people's privacy, especially now since everything is digital. How do we make sure that your data and this Zoom feed isn't being stolen? So there's a lot out there, but I think on the whole, there's nothing that's worth people's lives. And I think that's the consensus of the legislature, and we'll hopefully come back and address some of those things in the months to come.
How are you and your staff, working these days? I'm assuming a lot of Zoom meetings too.
Yeah, I do about maybe, 10 or 15 of these a day. But what's interesting, which I never would have guessed, since everything was shut down, everybody's at home now, and we've probably had more constituent outreach from just folks in the community in the last few weeks than we have, in the last year or more. And that's really been a lot to get through. So we've been having our team work remotely, responding to emails and getting on social media to answer questions. We're doing live town halls on health impacts. So it's just changed the entire role. Pretty much all the work at the Capitol on bills and things like that has been halted so that we can respond to the community. We've been triaging, getting supplies to the homeless and keeping people from getting evicted. And all of that has taken on a whole new thing for us.
Do you feel that, with this new kind of work environment we have, do you feel that government work has become more efficient this way?
It is more efficient in some ways. It's nice not to have to get into a suit every day. You can literally see that I'm wearing board shorts right now. But at the end of the day, I mean, for some things, especially when it's our job representing people out in the community, we have to be out in the community. Last week I took a bunch of supplies to a homeless camp, and we went and met people on the beach who had issues and getting tourists off and out of public areas. I mean, all these things require that kind of presence that you just can't always do remotely. So we work with our first responders and with HPD and others to try and make that happen. And that's going to keep going on that way, I think, even now indefinitely, although with a mask.
And it is an election year, for candidates like yourself. How has the pandemic kind of changed campaigning? Usually this time we would see, maybe some sign waving, door-to-door, visits from you guys. What are you guys doing?
I thought about this because, I'm up for election like everybody else. And we decided that it just wasn't safe to go door to door. I mean, that is the best way to meet people and the best way, I think, to answer people's questions about who you are and what their issues are. But certainly can't have fundraisers. No one can show up. So it's really changed everything for candidates. But I think what at least I decided on for me is I'm just going to go out there and do the work. And be out there like ferrying supplies around and doing all the stuff that needs to be done. And if that's enough and people appreciate that, then great. If not, then so be it. But there's just too much going on now to even honestly put together a meaningful campaign in this kind of environment.
And just for you personally, how has this all impacted you?
It definitely has taken a mental and emotional toll, I think, on a lot of people, and me included. I'm not married, so I decided, and I'm adopted. So I kind of thought, in reflection, can I pass that on? So actually,
where did he go?
I ended up adopting this guy just a couple days ago. He's a lot of work, but oh my God, has he made day to day so much better. So do what you can. Not everybody can get out there and ferry supplies and do that sort of thing, but maybe you can help someone else.
All right, State Representative Chris Lee, thank you for checking in with us. You be safe and healthy.
Thanks a lot.
All right, didn't know anything. That good information that I did not know about Representative Chris Lee there. And that's why I love that segment. Tomorrow we're actually going to check in with someone Jim Mendoza talked to, someone who's actually recovered from COVID-19.
Wow.
Yeah, so exclusive interview there that
Awesome.
he will bring us. All right, we want to turn now to some other headlines making news. A new study shows how widespread the coronavirus may be in parts of the U.S., and a Louisiana pastor who refuses to stop holding church services is in more trouble. Nancy Chin has a wrap-up of all this news.
Pastor Tony Spell was arrested outside his church in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Tuesday morning after he allegedly backed up a church bus in the direction of a protester. Spell was previously charged with multiple misdemeanor counts for refusing to abide by the state's mandate prohibiting gatherings over 10 people during the coronavirus outbreak. He continues to preside over church services at Life Tabernacle Church. An elderly member of the church died of the illness earlier this month. Spell calls the coroner's report a lie. He faces a charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. The first large-scale study tracking the spread of the coronavirus shows more than 4% of the population of Los Angeles County has likely been infected at some point. The study conducted by USC and the LA County Public Health Department tested antibodies to the virus found in blood. The results show the virus is far more widespread and that the fatality rate of the disease may be much lower than previously thought. And social media is making a difference in the lives of elderly residents living in isolation at an assisted living home in Tampa. An administrative assistant asked for people to send cards.
They love it. They love opening up and reading the notes. They love seeing the pictures. People have put together little gift baggies.
She received so many, each resident got almost 50. Nancy Chen, CBS News.
That was pretty adorable idea there. I like that.
I think I'm going to start sending my grandma letters, handwritten letters.
Yeah, I told you I signed up for a Story Watch, which is like you work with your grandparents or whoever you want to do it, your loved one, and you make answer some questions, write them up, and then at the end of it all, you get a book.
That's
it's a really
great.
cool program. So I'll let you know how it unfolds.
Awesome.
We're on day one.
Day one of many. So ride-sharing company Uber is launching new services aimed at delivering goods. Uber Direct allows retailers and businesses to deliver to customers, and Uber Connect is a courier service to let Uber users send items to one another. These services are still being rolled out, so not everyone will see them on their apps just yet.
All right, one of the most hard-hitting images that I've seen throughout this whole crisis here locally was those lines a couple weeks back going down Ala Moana and through downtown for people who needed food. And there's an obvious need now more than ever for food for some families, with many people who've been furloughed or out of work. Casey Lunn has some ways you can help. He filed this report just a short time ago.
We're inside a multi-use room here at the Salvation Army Kroc Center, Hawaii. It's usually used for arts and crafts and other educational purposes. Right now, though, it's been turned into a makeshift food pantry as the organization responds to growing need in the community during this worldwide pandemic.
It's amazing. It's really an inspiration. Normally our people here, we're running a very busy and active community center. People coming to work out in our fitness center and swimming and taking dance classes and music classes, our preschool and playing basketball and gymnasium. But our staff has really sprung into action when we transitioned from a community center to this emergency response center.
In their response to the local COVID-19 crisis, Major Phil Lum and the team here at the Salvation Army Kroc Center, Hawaii, have prepared close to 20,000 meals to Kapuna and other vulnerable community members. The effort is quickly clearing out their reserves, and your donations are needed now more than ever.
We're seeing the need increase each week, and so for us, we're taking in-kind donations of canned goods, non-perishable foods, adult incontinence products, personal hygiene products, and really the need right now is specifically for canned fruits and vegetables.
The effort here is much greater than food assistance. The Salvation Army is also providing rental assistance and other help paying bills for the families they serve. And this response reaches far beyond Oahu.
Actually, we cover the state of Hawaii as well as Micronesia up to Guam and Saipan for this response as well. And across the state, we have about 140 feeding opportunities per week where people can get access to food or a food bag.
Monetary donations are probably the best way you can help, but food donations, especially good healthy protein and fresh produce, are always welcome here at the Kroc Center. Reporting in Eva Beach, Casey Lund, Hawaii News Now.
Now, with social distancing rules, Hawaii's Girl Scouts have so many cookies in stock. And complicating things, they've struck a deal to sell them at City Mill starting Wednesday. They're $5 a box at most Oahu stores, with 100% of the proceeds going to local troops. Now, if you're not on Oahu, you can also order the cookies online from the Girl Scouts of Hawaii website and have the boxes shipped to your door.
$5 a box. I like that. I'm gonna be so full.
I miss seeing them at the grocery store entrances.
I know. I saw them like a month ago, just getting started, and I didn't dive in and buy, and I wish I would have. But now City Mill hopping in to help. So thanks, City Mill.
Or online.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, if I want them now. I can't wait for that shipping.
Instant gratification.
All right. Have we been seeing this whole newscast? The pandemic is dramatically changing our everyday lives, including how we work, socialize, and even date. Jamie Yuccas has been talking to people who are practicing social distancing and looking for love.
I can't wait.
At the same time.
Love really is in the air in New York City. Last month, Jeremy Cohen turned to his drone to get the attention of Tori Signorella after he spotted her dancing on her building's rooftop across the street.
I went out to my balcony and I said hi, and she waved back and said hi. I kind of said something along the lines of like, I'm going to send you something. And then I wrote my number on my drone, and then I ran up to the roof and flew it over.
Since then, there's been a rooftop dinner, a second date in person with Cohen in a protective bubble, and a special romantic gesture for Tori's birthday, courtesy of an old school boombox.
Obviously, we've built this bond just over this crazy scenario, but we also get along really well as just like humans and individuals, which has been really nice to actually focus on.
Many Americans have been told to stay home to stop the spread of coronavirus. Some people, like Jamie Shapiro, are embracing the change. The single mom of 3 is using her new free time to FaceTime.
I'm in a single parent group on Facebook, and a lot of people are saying, I'm not going to date right now because I can't meet. What's the point? And I'm like, this is the point. This is the time.
So far, she's met several potential matches, but she's also facing the same frustration some experience in real life, including getting stood up.
I put makeup on and like very minimal, like, and but I still had my pajamas, and then he didn't show, and I was actually kind of mad. Like, I just put on lipstick for you?
I think it's the first time in a lot of people's life where they felt just prevented from contact with others.
Daniel Jones is the editor of the New York Times column, Modern Love.
Do you have advice for people that might want to go down this road?
I think inhibitions can fall away, and you can ask the deep questions and learn about their past and learn about their fears and learn about their hopes for the future.
And now, dating apps like Bumble and Tinder are pushing users to video chat instead. Bumble says video chats increased 56% in late March, and those video dates are lasting on average more than 20 minutes.
Do you think that you could get interested in someone over video and be in it for a while until you can meet each other?
I mean, aren't there movies about this stuff? Like, there's... It's possible. It really is.
It's kind of like a pen pal, after a while, like a video pen pal. And then after at some point, you're like, well, what are we really doing here? So look, you could possibly find lasting love. I'm an optimist, okay? I'm a careful optimist.
According to Dating.com, only 5% of users say they will not date during isolation, whereas 82% still hope to find that special someone by online dating. Jamie Yuccas, CBS News, Los Angeles.
The bubble date is the way to go. That was crazy.
That's a grand gesture right there.
And you drone use. That's commitment and ingenuity. You gotta say it.
I love their story. Right? I hope they end up together.
Me too. If not, they have some really popular YouTube videos, if nothing else, to show for their relationship. All right, you guys. that's about going to do it for us today. We have a number of updates coming in for you this afternoon. Coming up in just a little over 30 minutes, Mayor Caldwell is going to have a big announcement, we're told. That's coming up at 1:30. We're going to bring that to you on our H&N TV stations and our digital platforms. And don't forget, we have another panel discussion coming up tomorrow in prime time and on all H&N platforms. You guys have a safe and good Tuesday. See you tomorrow.